Hey, welcome everyone to yet another episode of Caspio Live. This is your host, Ned. If you're able to hear me okay, please let me know via chat so that we can begin with today's live stream. Really quickly, just to get that housekeeping item out of the way, let me know via chat that you're able to hear me, and if you are, we can go ahead and begin. Today, hey King Capo, loud and clear, very good. Good to see you again. All right, so today we're going to be looking at AI agents inside the Caspio platform and how they can make our applications more intelligent. For me personally, it's really hard for me not to geek over this because it's pretty cool. Um, all the things that you can actually do from the AI side. Sorry, your Nuggets didn't make it out of the semis. Yeah, it is what it is. You know, it's sports. You win some, you lose some. It's kind of how it goes, but I appreciate the sentiment nonetheless. All right, so as always in my live streams, I like to give you a live example first of what we're going to be developing so that you can see the functionality. And then we're going to go inside Caspio and I will walk you through on how these AI agents are created. How do you come up with the prompt that you send to OpenAI, and how does the data get written back inside our Caspio database and then made available on the front end. So for my first example that we have is applicant tracking. So what ends up happening is what you could do is to help out the HR team is when the candidate applies for a position, we're going to be able to get their resume, and then we can compare that resume against the job description. And I want the AI to give me a match score from 0 to 100, how good of a fit this candidate is. I also want AI to give me some key skills that align with the job description. And last but not least, we want the fit summary. Maybe just one or two sentences give me how good of a fit is the candidate for this position. So this helps out the HR team weed out candidates that are probably not going to be qualified. And it's pretty amazing what you can do. And the data comes back in a few seconds. It's not instant. It just depends on how much data you're writing back into your Caspio table. But in just a few seconds, you can have AI analyze the resume and let you know how that resume compares to the job description so that the HR team can be more efficient. My second example is when the lead is submitted via the form. So imagine on your website you have a public-facing lead form. You're collecting some information about this lead, and then we can have the AI analyze the lead and give us a lead quality, cold, warm, hot. We can have the estimated budget based on what they're looking to do. We have the sales approach, very helpful. Give your sales team the idea how to approach that lead. And finally, we can have draft an email response so that we can just copy and paste into the Outlook and then maybe modify the email to be in the right context for what the lead is about. Again, pretty awesome what type of data you can actually automatically generate in your table to help out not just the HR team, but also the sales team and different use cases. And last but not least, we have support tickets. We can ask the AI to give us the category. So when the support ticket is submitted from a customer, we can categorize that. We have the priority level, and then we also have a suggested reply. So again, just helping out your teams be more efficient. That way they don't have to sit down and compose these emails themselves. We have a draft that we can work with and then just modify it very quickly and submit that back to the customer. Now, I was also thinking right before the live stream, this is just the initial suggested reply when the ticket comes in, but you could have, if you have a thread and you're talking back and forth with the client, you can have a draft response for every single time a client submits a response. I didn't think about that, but you could actually do something like that as well, which is even more efficient than what I've done here. So think of it like a one-to-many. One ticket can have many responses, and each time a response is generated, we can also have a draft reply next to it so that our support team can quickly just copy and paste and modify what they need to and hit submit. Again, like I said at the beginning, it's hard for me not to geek out about this stuff because it's so cool and just how many different ways you can make your applications more intelligent. All right, so with that said, let's take a look at our very first example, which is the applicant resume. Now, in order for this to work, let's go into our tables. The way an applicant or recruitment application is set up is we will typically have two tables. You have a jobs table and you have the applicants table, because a single job can have many applicants, right? So it's a one-to-many. Inside my jobs table, you have all of your typical information along with the job description. Now, when we create the AI agent, we can only look inside one table, okay, and write the data back into that table. However, we have the job description in the jobs table, and I have the resume in the applicants table. So how do we now compare the job description to the resume? We have to create the trigger to copy the job description inside the applicants table. Again, it's very simple to do that. I'm going to show you the trigger in just a moment. But when the applicant applies for a position, we want to copy over the job description in this table as well. This way the AI can look at the job description, they can look at the resume, compare them side by side so that we can generate the match score, the relevant skills, and also the fit summary. And my trigger, like I said, it's very simple. Let me walk you through it. Run the action on insert of data. So when the data is inserted inside the applicants table, meaning when the applicant applies for a position, I want to update the inserted table, which is, again, the same table. And I want to update that table with the job description. So what we're doing is we're taking the job description from the applicants table, and we're going to set that with the job description from the jobs table. And in order to do that, we have to have a join between the two tables. That way we can grab the job description and copy it over to the applicants table. And now that we have that information in the applicants table, we can send that information to OpenAI for it to analyze and write back inside the applicants table all the information that we're collecting, which is the match score, key skills, and fit summary. Okay, let me give you a quick example of how this works. Now, I'm going to insert the data directly inside my table. But as everyone knows, we can also have that information be submitted via the web, so you can build forms. Normally in a recruitment application, you would have a web form somewhere in your application for the applicant to submit a resume, but I'm going to just quickly add it to my table. The point of this exercise is not to build something fancy. We could do that. It's just to get through the information quickly so that you can see how the AI agent functions. So let's go ahead and apply for maybe a data analyst role. And I use ChatGPT to generate a just an arbitrary resume. So I'm going to apply as Jordan Taylor. And let me just go ahead and copy this resume that's actually for a graphic designer. So there's my resume. But as you can see, I'm applying for a data analyst role. And I'm just going to click in the next row. Now my job description should have been copied over for data analyst, right? So the trigger is working correctly. Like I said at the beginning, it might take a few seconds for the data to come in. But as you can see, we got our match score, we got the key skills, and we got the fit summary very quickly. If I go back to my live example and I reload, we should be able to get that information to come in. And there's Jordan Taylor. We have the match score of 10, which is very low. And then we can see the key skills along with the fit summary. The applicant does not fit the data analyst role well, as they lack the required so on and so forth. Okay. And as an HR recruiter, I can look at this information and quickly weed out this potential candidate. Again, you can still look at the resume if you want to, but I don't think in this case it's necessary since the match score is so low. All right. Now let's take a look and see how that AI agent was created. So in order to do that, you have to go to integrations and you have to add the AI-powered GPT Connect. And I have a lot of AI agents created, but we're going to be focusing on these ones here that you see, prefaced with Caspio Live. And the first three are getting the match score, the key skills, and the fit summary. Now, one thing that I get asked a lot is, why do I have to create 3 different agents? Can I just do one agent and do a prompt that feeds the data in 3 different fields in my table? You could, but it's a more complex setup. So what ends up happening is in your prompt, you have to be very specific to store the data as comma separated values. And then you have to use the trigger to parse the data and copy the data over to your other fields. To me, it's much more simpler just to have separate agents with a single prompt. And that works well for me because I don't really want to have to deal with parsing the data using the trigger. Let's take a look at the match score. Okay, so first thing you'll do is give it a name, very simple. You choose a profile. I always go with default. Then you select the table where you want the match score to be stored. And that is our applicants table. I want that to happen when the data is inserted. In other words, when the applicant applies for a position, insert the match score. And here's my prompt. So I gave this prompt to AI saying, you're a recruitment assistant, compare the following job description and applicant resume and return a match score from 0 to 100. Here's my job description and here's my applicant resume. And all you do is insert those fields as parameters from your table. So there's the resume and there's the job description from the applicant table. And now the AI has that information. It can compare it. And in your field, it's going to add 0 to 100, which is set up on the subsequent screen. So here we have the match score field from that same table, and that's where we're going to store the response. So these agents are all manually created, but as you can see, it's just a step-by-step guide. There's no coding. Okay, it's point and click. You simply set up all of your fields, all the settings, and then in the end, you're going to hit save, and it's going to be running in the background. So now every time a new candidate submits a resume or an application, the AI is going to analyze it and give the HR or your team all of the answers that you're looking for or that you asked for. Let me show you my second prompt, which is key skills. So again, you give it a name, you hit next, same table, same event, and then here is my prompt. Compare the following job description and applicant resume and return key skills from the resume that align with the job. So you have to be very specific with your prompt, what you want AI to come back with. And then again, it's the same information. And on the next screen, we select the field where we want the key skills to be stored. Okay, and the last one that I have is fit summary. And here's my prompt. One sentence summary of how well this applicant fits the role. And again, it's basically the same exact information. You just copy and paste, and you just change the prompt to what you want AI to come back with. And finally, you're going to select that field for fit summary. And then in your table, because you have those fields, that's where we're storing that information. AI is going to generate that for you, and you have all that information that you can make available on the front end. Once again, it's so much fun to come up with new ways of how we can use AI to enhance our applications and make the jobs much more efficient for the app users of these applications. Let's move on to the second example, which is the lead analysis. So when the lead form is submitted, we want AI to do a few things for us. So let's go into our table of leads. All right, so we're going to submit something here. Let's just say John Doe, a company, Google, phone number. We'll just say random phone number, email, jd@google.com, website, www.google.com. Employee count, let's just say 100,000. And then you have to input, what do you need help with? Because sometimes the lead form will have that question because you're contacting us, what can we help you with? And we can use that information with AI to kind of generate these responses. So maybe Google needs help with, we need help with redesigning our homepage. I don't think they'll ever need help with that. I'm sure they have designers and developers in-house. But if they're ever looking to outsource that work, let's say they contacted our company. And that's, I think, all the information that we need on the lead form. We're going to click underneath that. Let's refresh. And it shouldn't take too long for that data to come back. We can just keep refreshing. And you can see the data is already coming in, and we're going to be able to draft the email response here in just a moment. If I go to my live example, here we now have everything. Suggested email response. We have the sales approach, estimated budget, because it probably knows that Google's a large company, so they could have a bigger budget for this project. It's a warm lead. And all of that information came in very quickly. Okay, just to help out the sales team, make them more efficient, get more deals, close more sales, get more revenue. That's the idea. And the final example I have is the tickets example, which is going to be very similar to the leads. But before I go into my tickets example, let me show you the actual prompts. So let's go inside my integrations, and then here we have the leads. Let me just find the ones that I need. These are all the same. I just had the name reversed here, lead CRM. So let's take a look at the lead quality. I think the most important thing that we want to look at is the prompt, right? All right, so a new lead has been entered into our CRM system. Based on the lead details, analyze and return the lead quality. And you give it options, what type of a lead quality you want to store back in your table. And you give AI all of this information that came via that lead form. Okay, let's take a look at the second one, which is estimated budget. Okay, an estimated budget range if mentioned or inferable. Again, we have all the details of the lead. Let's take a look at the third one, which is the sales approach. A brief note on how our sales team should approach this lead. And finally, last but not least, we have the draft email response. Draft an email response with a CTA at the end. If you've ever done any selling before, you always want to have close CTA at the very end, a call to action. That way you can set up the next step with the client, always be closing with that mindset. A CTA is always helpful to have at the end. So that's kind of the idea behind these 4 AI agents that we did for leads that are coming in via the form. And the last one that we have is the tickets. So with this one, let's take a look at an example very quickly. So ticket title, why don't I have AI agent, ChatGPT draft us a ticket really quickly. Create a generic ticket in the text space. Title and description. I'm just typing on my other monitor here so I can generate that from ChatGPT. All right, so here is my title. Okay, I'll expand that a little bit. This should say users. And finally, we have the description. So let's copy that. So here's my description. All right. And that's all we need. Okay. And let me type in the customer name. I don't have another table set up with the customer table. If I did, we could stamp the customer name into this table automatically, but I'm just going to say Jane Doe, and then we will click underneath that, hit refresh, and you can already see how quickly the category and priority came in. The suggested reply might take another second. Here it is. So now we can go to our live example and take a look at this. I was also thinking that you could actually, in your prompt, feed the name of the customer and let AI include the name of the customer in the response. That way, your support team doesn't really have to manually type out their name. That's something that I can explore later on. So let's go into our live example. Let's refresh and let's take a look and see. There is the ticket submitted by Jane Doe. We have the ticket title, description, category, priority level, and suggested reply back to the customer. So now we're going to take a look at all of the agents that we created for our ticket management. So I will hit edit for suggested reply. And here is a prompt. Write a professional, empathetic response we can send to the customer based on the information that we want, which is the ticket title and ticket description. The one thing that I didn't actually create for today's live stream, maybe I should have done that as well, is that not only can you send text to OpenAI to get a response back, you can also send images if you had a file in your application. So one example would be if you're building an expense tracking application and you have your employees submitting receipts into the database. As we know, receipt is just an image, but what we can do is we can send that image to OpenAI and we can extract information from that image, such as the location, total, date, and any other information from that receipt, and you can store that into your table, and then you can feed that information into your reports to be able to see calculations and things like that. So image, like a receipt is one example. You can also have, I don't know, let's say a PDF document. Or another thing that you could do is, let's say you are in your recruitment application, you want the applicants to submit a PDF resume as opposed to text. It works the same exact way. You can just have it analyze a PDF as opposed to a text, right? So it would work the same exact way. And I'm thinking, what else? Maybe some tax reporting. If you have a W-2 form that you're submitting, you can extract information from that. I can't think of other examples at the moment, but that's the idea behind using the file, right? So for example, in your prompt, you can say analyze the PDF below, and then you simply include the file. I don't have any file fields in my table, so that's why you see none. Okay, so that's the reply. What else do we have? We have add category and add priority. So here's my category. Okay, that's the prompt. And then we have priority. And this is the prompt. Okay, and then we're going to cancel out of that. Did I have another one? So we have ticket, suggested reply, add category, and add priority. Those three. Pretty cool, right? Let me know if you have any questions based on what you're seeing with creating agents inside the platform. It's super easy. It'll literally take you maybe a minute to set up one agent once you hone in on that prompt on how you want the data to return back to your Caspio table. And then you can make it available on the front end using the reports that we create. Again, please don't pay any attention to the aesthetics, the look and feel, and the functionality here. Again, the point of this exercise is just to show you how the AI agents work and how the data is stored back in your table from OpenAI using GPT Connect. But we can always make applications look nice. Okay, that's one of the benefits of Caspio, and the power of Caspio is to aesthetically make them look beautiful and part of your brand and your image. That way, nobody knows that Caspio is behind the scenes. All right. Today's live stream was a bit quick. As you can see, it's just going over the AI agents. I hope that you enjoyed today's live stream. I don't see any questions coming in, so hopefully everything is clear. I don't have a topic in mind yet for the next live stream, but usually I have that ready in a few days, and you will be able to see that on our YouTube channel. But if there's ever something you want to see from these live streams, please send me an email. I always take in requests. So once again, here is my email. You have an idea for an application or AI agents or extensions or certain functionality you would like to see, whether it's Caspio's Bridge or Flex framework, let me know, and we will go ahead and include that in the live stream and build it out. Okay, for those of you who are joining the live stream for the very first time, Caspio does offer two different frameworks for building applications. One is Bridge and one is Flex. Okay, we have lots of videos explaining how both Bridge and Flex work when it comes to building apps. Bridge is recommended for people who have a website and want their entire application to run on their website, whereas Flex Caspio hosts every aspect of your application, including your logo, your navigation menu, and all of the forms and reports. But with Bridge, all the forms and reports are embedded into your own website. Just want to make that distinction, okay? With Bridge, every form and every report that you create, including the login screen, will live on your own website that you're hosting. Your own website will have your own logo, your navigation menu, and you're simply embedding Caspio into your own web pages. But Flex, if you don't have a website, we host every single aspect of your application. That includes your logo, your navigation menu. So if I were to open up one of my applications in Flex and we go inside a designer tab, we can see everything that we're building here in preview in the middle, right? So if I look at maybe my dashboard page, you can see here in real time, we're able to see what we've developed. We can move things around, we can resize things, and everything snaps in the grid that you see behind these forms and reports. If you want to include your own logo, you click on the segment, and here we can replace the logo with your own company logo that you might have. And then here we can rename. If you want to have a heading here at the top in the header, you can do that. We automatically create the navigation menu by adding these app pages. And every single one of these app pages will have all of your forms and reports that you add by clicking on Add Elements. Okay, it's a quick tour of how Flex works. But again, everything we host for you, and then you can quickly deploy all of your app pages and segments by going to the Deployment tab at the bottom. All right. Hey Didier, good to see you. I would like to see how Flex handles the custom website feature. Can you just expand upon that a little bit? How Flex handles the custom website feature when you're dealing with roles and redirection. Maybe you can shoot me an email. Just give me a little bit more about that question so that I understand. Are you talking about how Flex can be embedded into an actual web page? Because that's one thing I didn't mention is when it comes to deploying Flex, yes, we host everything for you by providing these links. So Caspio will host everything for you, but if you want to embed Flex into your own website, you can still do that. We give you the ability to do that by clicking on the deployment code and copying and pasting the snippet of code into your own website. So you get both with Flex if you choose to do so. The recommended deployment is to have Caspio hosted for you if you're building your apps using Flex. But if you still want to embed Flex into your own website, you have the option to do so. Currently, Flex gives you a link for each role. How will it be when you use the custom website feature? Still not sure what you mean by how will it be when you use the custom website feature. Oh, are we talking about when embedding Flex into a web page? You will still need to have three different, let's say you have 3 roles in Flex: admin, supervisor, manager. We have segments for each role, and you have all of your forms and reports on each app page. You will still end up having 3 different login screens, one for admin, one for supervisor, and one for manager. But you will need to have 3 different web pages to support that. No, the links don't, how do those, those links, how do they change when you have your own website? You don't have to worry about the links when you have your own website. Okay, these links are not going to be important whatsoever. What you're looking at is the deployment code if you want to use Flex with your own website. Okay, so for example, if we look at the dashboard page, let's go to our dashboard app page. What's going to get embedded is all of the forms and reports, not the logo, not the navigation. The only thing that's embedding into your own web page are the forms and reports. So every single chart that you see here along with the report, if you go to deployment and you go to the dashboard page, deployment code, and you copy this code, let's say you paste this code into your website. All you're going to see are the 4 charts and the report on that web page. Okay, you will still have the login screen. If it's authenticated, you still have to log in and be able to see that web page. And once you log in once, you're going to be logged in for all the other app page inside that segment. All right, so let me go back here. So if you log in, let's say you log in and you go to your dashboard page on your own website, you will be logged in on all of these other app pages as well inside that segment. Hopefully that makes sense. Just want to make sure I'm clear one more time. When you deploy Flex into your own web page, you're just deploying the forms and reports, nothing else around it. Only the forms and reports. So if I go to, let's say, manage contacts, just the search form and just the report will be embedded into your own web page. If you choose to embed Flex into your own website, you can do it. I mean, honestly, like if you're going to use Flex, then my recommendation is to simply deploy using Caspio. Okay, but you can still do that if you want to. All right. Didier, if there's a follow-up, please, you have my email. You can just shoot me an email and we can cover whatever other remaining questions you might have in the next live stream. Happy to do it, as you know. But let's go ahead and close today's live stream. If there are no further questions, thank you so much for your time today. I hope to see you in 2 weeks' time. We're going to have a new topic available here in just a couple of days. You can come back to Caspio Live. Thanks, Judith. Good to see you. I never know who's here unless they submit something via chat. Hope you've been well. Yeah, we will keep the ideas coming, definitely. All right, so thanks again for your time. I will go ahead and close the live stream now. I'll keep the chat running for another minute to see if there's any questions that come in, and then we'll go ahead and end the live stream. Thanks so much for your time, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Bye-bye.